My name is Vanessa Reed. I'm 37 years old, and at 6:42 on a Saturday evening, my mother stood in front of nearly 60 people at my sister's engagement party and announced that I had stolen money from my own family. The room went silent. My sister, Madison, lowered her champagne glass and stared at me with the perfect expression of a woman who had just discovered something terrible. My father stood beside her. My mother was crying, and the man Madison was about to marry looked at me as though I were a stranger. Then my mother pointed directly at me. "Vanessa took money from the family business," she said. "And tonight, we finally have proof." I could hear people whispering. My aunt covered her mouth. My cousin pulled out his phone. Madison looked down at the floor, pretending to be embarrassed. But I wasn't embarrassed. I was confused. Because the money they were accusing me of stealing had actually been transferred into an account I had never touched. And 3 minutes earlier, I had received a message from the bank that told me exactly who had authorized the transfer. Madison. I looked across the room at my younger sister. She wasn't crying anymore. She was smiling. Just barely. And that was when I realized this wasn't an accusation. It was a performance. My family had planned it. They just didn't know I had already discovered their secret. For most of my life, Madison had been the daughter everyone protected. She was beautiful, outgoing, charming, and effortlessly good at making people feel important. I was different. I was quieter. I worked hard. I asked questions. And apparently, that made me difficult. My father, Richard, owned a small chain of home improvement stores across Ohio. My mother, Elaine, managed the family finances. Madison had joined the business after college and was being prepared to take over someday. I had worked there too, for nearly 10 years. But 3 years earlier, I left. According to my family, I quit because I couldn't handle working under Madison. The truth was much simpler. I had discovered that money was disappearing from the company. Small amounts at first. $5,000. Then $12,000. Then almost $30,000. The payments were being made to consulting companies that barely existed. When I asked my mother about them, she told me to mind my own department. When I asked Madison, she laughed. "Vanessa, not everything is a conspiracy." 2 weeks later, my father called me into his office. He didn't ask what I had found. He told me I was making everyone uncomfortable. "You're becoming obsessed with numbers," he said. "Money is literally the company's business. You know what I mean." I left. I thought leaving would end the problem. Instead, my parents told relatives that I had become jealous of Madison and couldn't accept that my sister was succeeding. I didn't defend myself. I started my own accounting consultancy. Slowly, I built a life that didn't depend on my family's approval, and I rarely discussed the business again. Until that engagement party. Madison was getting married to Andrew Collins, the son of a wealthy real estate developer. My parents had spent months planning the engagement celebration. I almost didn't attend. Then my mother called me. "She's your sister," she said. So I went. I wore a simple navy dress. I brought a gift. And for the first hour, everything seemed normal. Madison hugged me when I arrived. "You actually came." I smiled. "Of course I came." She whispered, "Mom said you might make this awkward." That was Madison. Even when she smiled, she knew exactly where to place the knife. "I won't," I told her. She kissed my cheek. Then she whispered, "Good, because tonight is important." I didn't understand what she meant. Now I did. At 6:42, my mother accused me of stealing $84,000. My father stepped forward with a folder. Bank records show the money was transferred from the company account into an account connected to Vanessa. I stared at him. "Connected to me?" He opened the folder. My old business registration was inside. My consulting company's name appeared on a payment record. A few people gasped. Andrew's father looked at my father. "Are you saying she stole from you?" My mother nodded. "She took advantage of our trust." I looked at Madison. She was still pretending to be devastated. "Madison," I said. She looked at me. "What?" "Tell them." Her expression changed. "Tell them what?" "You know I didn't do this." She shook her head. "I don't know anything." That was when I laughed. Not because it was funny. because suddenly everything made sense. The missing money, the accusation, the timing, the engagement party. They weren't trying to find out who had stolen the money. They had already decided. They needed a person to blame. And I was the perfect choice. My father handed the folder to Andrew. Your future wife has been under tremendous stress because of this. I looked at him. Don't drag Andrew into this. My mother snapped, you don't get to tell us what to do after stealing from your own family. I reached into my purse. My father immediately said, what are you doing? I pulled out my phone, checking something. I opened my banking app. Then I looked at Madison. Your name is on the transfer. Her face changed. Only for half a second. But I saw it. My father didn't. What are you talking about? I turned my phone around. The bank alerted me this afternoon because my company name appeared in a suspicious transaction report. My mother went pale. I continued. The money wasn't transferred into my account. I looked at Madison. It was transferred through an account created using my old business information. Madison's lips parted. My aunt whispered, what does that mean? It means someone used my identity. My father grabbed the folder. That's impossible. No, I said. What's impossible is that I supposedly stole money using an account I closed 2 years ago. Nobody spoke. Andrew looked at Madison. Is that true? She looked at him. Andrew, don't listen to her. I watched him carefully. He looked confused. That was when I realized something else. Andrew didn't know. Madison hadn't told her fiancé about the money. She had planned to make me the villain before anyone had a chance to investigate. My father stepped between us. This is a family matter. No, I said. You made it public. My mother started crying again. Vanessa, please. We can discuss this privately. I shook my head. You had your chance. Then my phone buzzed. I looked down. It was an email from my bank. Additional transaction evidence attached. I opened it. My stomach tightened. There were 3 transfers. Not 1. 3. The first had happened 6 months ago. The second 4 months ago. The third was made only 9 days earlier. And all 3 had been authorized using a device registered to Madison. I stared at the screen. Then I looked up. Madison. She didn't answer. Did you use my old company information to open a new account? No. Did you transfer money from Dad's company? No. Then why does the bank have your device ID attached to the transactions? Her face went white. My father immediately said, device IDs can be spoofed. I looked at him. How did you know that? Silence. That question changed the entire room. Andrew slowly turned toward my father. You knew about the transfers? Richard's expression hardened. Don't be ridiculous. I looked around the room. This is exactly what happened 3 years ago. My mother whispered, stop. No. I turned toward everyone. 3 years ago, I found suspicious payments leaving the company. I told them. They told me I was jealous of Madison. Madison suddenly shouted, because you were. I looked at her. Then why are you using my identity? She stopped. Andrew stared at her. Madison. She looked trapped. Then my father said something that changed everything. Your sister was supposed to receive the money. Madison looked at him. Dad. He froze. I stared at him. What did you just say? My mother closed her eyes. Andrew stepped backward. You said she was supposed to receive it. Richard looked at me. I misspoke. No. I held up my phone. You didn't. The room had gone completely silent. I opened the transaction report. $84,000 wasn't the first amount. I looked directly at Madison. There was $41,000 6 months ago. Her eyes filled with tears. Vanessa. Then $67,000 4 months later. My father said enough. And then $84,000 last week. I looked at Andrew. That's nearly $200,000. Andrew's face had changed. Madison, what is she talking about? Madison began crying. I was going to tell you. When? She didn't answer. My father stepped forward. This has gotten out of control. I looked at him. No. It finally got under control. Then I told them the part they didn't expect. I didn't come here tonight empty-handed. I pulled another document from my purse. My father stared at it. What is that? An independent forensic audit. Madison stopped crying. My mother looked frightened. I had commissioned the audit 2 weeks earlier. Not because I knew about the engagement party accusation. Because an old employee from my father's company had contacted me. He told me someone had been moving money through fake consulting companies again. I investigated. And I found something. The consulting companies weren't random. They were connected to a property Madison had purchased 6 months earlier. A luxury condominium. Paid partly in cash. I looked at her. You didn't steal $84,000. She swallowed. You stole much more. Andrew stared at her. Is that true? Madison finally broke. I was going to pay it back. My mother covered her face. My father shouted, Madison. She cried harder. I was going to. I looked at my father. And you knew. He said nothing. My mother whispered. We were trying to help her. I couldn't believe it. Help her. She had debts, Mom said. She had a gambling problem, my father admitted quietly. Andrew stared at Madison. What? Madison looked at him. I can explain. He stepped away. No, don't. I felt something inside me finally go quiet. For years, I had wanted my parents to admit that I wasn't the problem. Now they had. They just hadn't realized they were doing it. My father looked at me. Vanessa, if you release this audit, the company could collapse. No. He looked confused. The company doesn't have to collapse. I pointed at the documents. The people who stole from it need to stop. My mother started crying. Please don't destroy your sister's future. I looked at her. She tried to destroy mine. Madison shook her head. I was scared. So was I. I thought Dad would choose you. I stared at her. Choose me for what? She couldn't answer. Then Andrew spoke. Did you accuse her because you thought I'd leave you if I knew? Madison began crying. Andrew looked at me. I'm sorry. You didn't do anything. I believed them. I nodded. So did I. For years. My father tried one final time. Vanessa, we're family. I looked at him. That word means nothing when it's only used to silence the person you're hurting. He flinched. The audit was submitted to the company's board the following Monday. Within days, the evidence was overwhelming. Madison had diverted company money through shell consulting businesses. My father had authorized several of the transfers. My mother had helped conceal them. And the final attempt to blame me had been designed to protect Madison before her marriage. The company survived. But the family didn't. Madison's engagement ended. The board removed her from management. My father resigned before he could be formally removed. My mother eventually admitted that she had known about the money for more than a year. The investigation continued for months. I never celebrated their downfall. That surprised people. They expected me to feel victorious. But standing outside the company headquarters one morning, I realized something. I hadn't won. I had simply stopped losing. I stopped losing my peace to their lies. I stopped losing my confidence to their favoritism. And most importantly, I stopped allowing the word family to convince me that I owed people my silence. Months later, Madison sent me a letter. She apologized. Not for getting caught. For what she had done. She admitted that she had spent years believing I was the only person standing between her and the life she wanted. She finally understood that I had never been competing with her. I never replied. Not because I hated her. Because some doors can remain closed without hatred behind them. My father sent me one final message. Your grandfather would be disappointed in how you handled this. I stared at it. Then I remembered something Grandpa had once told me when I was 16. If the truth costs you a relationship, make sure the relationship was worth keeping. I deleted the message. Today, I still run my accounting consultancy. I don't work for my father's company. I don't attend family events just because someone tells me I should. And I don't explain my success anymore. Because the strangest thing about being underestimated is that eventually, you stop needing anyone to recognize your value. My family tried to turn me into the villain at my sister's engagement party. They thought one public accusation would destroy my reputation. Instead, it exposed the people who had been hiding behind mine. And the lesson I learned was simple. Loyalty doesn't mean carrying someone else's lie. Sometimes loving yourself means refusing to become the person your family needs you to be. And sometimes the most satisfying ending isn't watching your enemies fall. It's realizing you no longer need them to stand. If you were Vanessa, would you expose the truth in front of everyone, or protect your sister and keep the family secret private?